Well, Apple recently announced a slew of new products and some updates in its virtual event. So I spoke to Daniel Ives, the Equity Research Managing Director at Webush Securities, to walk us through the highlights of the high-tech announcements. Let's take a look.
This is really the drum roll to what's going to be a super cycle in terms of iPhone 12 that gets launched the first week in October. But I think it was really about the Apple Watch as well as the services bundle. I mean, Apple Watch, just to give some numbers, about 10% of iPhone users have an Apple Watch today. We think that goes to 25% in the next 3 years. Then you look at the services, the bundling. That's a key part of just further monetization of that install base. That's a big part of why the stock continues to move higher. That's a $60 billion revenue stream annually, and I think this could add 5 to 7%. Those, to me, were really the highlights of today, which is just a drum roll to the main event next month.
Now, as we know, no new iPhone announced yet. Was there anything else that you were hoping to see announced that Apple didn't come forward with?
I mean, I think there was some talk maybe that they would give some breadcrumbs around AR headset, which we will come out next year. But I think for them, it was really about keeping it close to the vest, because the Apple story over the next 6 to 9 months and longer is all going to be about iPhone 12. In our opinion, it's a once-in-a-decade product cycle. And I think really what you're seeing for Apple, even on the iPad side and Mac and on AirPods, I mean, they're going through just a massive upgrade cycle of an unparalleled install base. And I think that continues to be what's really fueling the rally in the stock that you've seen over the last 6 months.
Now, I want to talk about Apple's competitors. We did see that Apple was delving deeper into the health market with its watch that can now measure blood oxygen levels, among other things. In fact, Peloton tweeted, "Friendly competition is in our DNA. Welcome to the world of digital fitness, Apple." So a little bit of competition there. But in light of things like the coronavirus and this added focus on health, how do you see competitors now responding as Apple pushes into this field?
Look, in Apple, and if you look at Cook and Cupertino, I mean, they've really focused on health, especially for the last few years, with Apple Watch as a wearable front and center. But no doubt, I mean, when Apple talks, everyone listens. And I think what they're doing on health, a little bit of shot across the bow at Peloton, some others, I actually think that we could see more acquisitions in the healthcare space for Apple over the next 6 to 9 months, as they just double down on this area, especially on wearables.
Now, looking at other tech companies, now I want to get to TikTok and what's happening with Oracle taking a minority stake in the company. Where do things stand, and what are the concerns that this deal opens up?
Look, I mean, look, the reality is that once China changed the export rules, that essentially put a poison pill in the deal from Microsoft to acquire TikTok. They were never going to buy TikTok without the algorithm. So a partnership with Oracle really became the next best thing. And it could be a Goldilocks situation. Look, it's a win for Oracle. It's a win for TikTok and ByteDance not to sell it, get a stake and a partner in Oracle and stay a standalone entity. So I expect this to get the green light from the White House. And I think investors are a bit relieved that it ends like this rather than some fork in the road situation where TikTok potentially could have been shut down in the U.S. over the next month or two.
So then what does all this mean for TikTok's competitors like YouTube and Instagram?
Well, I think the fear of many of them were Microsoft acquiring. If Microsoft acquires TikTok, that's, I think, very negative in terms of Facebook, in terms of YouTube, in terms of a whole group of that, we'll call it FANG names. By Oracle, just taking a partnership and a stake, I mean, that's a positive, because ultimately, I think for this, FANG names are relieved that Microsoft didn't acquire TikTok. Oracle is a no harm, no foul situation, competitively speaking, because they're essentially just going to be a technology provider.
And just quickly, I want to look at this issue of some of the monitoring that platforms are being pressured to do in terms of Instagram, Facebook. We're seeing a lot of celebrities, including Kim Kardashian West, boycotting the platforms, freezing their accounts to draw attention to the spread of misinformation and hate speech in the run-up to the U.S. election. How much pressure and focus is there now on platforms to do more in terms of monitoring content and data?
Oh, I think there's a huge spotlight, especially going into the elections and just given this backdrop that we're seeing. And I think it's something where it's a balancing act, because for all these platforms, it's about the content, but also its monetization. And if you look at Facebook and you look at YouTube and others, that's something that, especially over the last 6 months, the monetization on the social media side has been very strong from an advertising perspective. And I think that's something investors are focused on, but of course, just going into the elections, this is going to be, I think a saga where we're going to have many twists and turns ahead. And I think it's good that ultimately TikTok got resolved in this way rather than some sort of old Western standoff where it could have been shut down.